Welcome to the Urban Encounter Ministries house. Our mission is to bring cities back to the heart of Jesus through proclamation, demonstration, and discipleship. And this weekly Bible study, I hope to touch on some of those points to help you do the same thing. So today I wanted to go over what has really been kind of what people might call a life verse. You know, maybe some of you have certain verses that stand out and really show up thematically throughout your life. And this is a really good thing in our prayer life to have those certain verses that we hold on to. And one of those verses for me is Psalm 127. I'll read it to you and then we'll go over a little bit of the deeper meaning, what it means to me. Psalm 127, if the Lord does not build the house, those who construct it labor in vain. If the Lord does not guard the city, those who keep watch over it do so in vain. It is useless for you to rise early and delay taking your rest at night, toiling relentlessly for the bread you eat. For while those he loves sleep, he provides all of this for them. And so that it goes on a little bit more, but that's what I wanted to focus on. And when we got the ministry started here even before Urban Encounter Ministries was a reality, and it was just basically a vision, something in my mind. I was part of Encounter. I was actually an intern for Encounter School of Supernatural Ministry, which many of you may know. But this is back in 2017, and part of that internship, when we participate in classes, one thing that we are encouraged to do is to really seek out these themes in prayer. And one of them that continued to come to me was this idea of building a house, building something that would last, something that would be sustainable, you know. And if we think of a home, we think of a home means so many things to us. It means a place that we're welcome, a place that we can start a new life, build a family. And in this case, in the case of building a new ministry, it meant actually establishing ourselves in a part of town that I really didn't know much about, which was the Hilltop. And the Hilltop is an area that really struggles in so many ways. It struggles with a lot of that basic family foundational type things that we may take for granted, even just the basic upkeep of a home, you know. And so when I first started coming up here, I would see a lot of boarded up houses, and I was really inspired that our ministry could help in this regard. We could get into a home, we could start to refurbish it, we could start to steward that, and that would make a big difference. And one of the things that we did is we were able to get into a house, and we just started to do that. We started to steward that home. But day after day, I would pray this: if the Lord does not build the house, those who construct it labor in vain. And on a very practical level, I was building with my hands. And a lot of my friends that were coming alongside me in the ministry, this is what the early days of the ministry looked like. We were, you might call it a brick and mortar type ministry. We were getting in there with our hands. We were sweating, you know, working long hours. I remember the early days of this house, I would just have this dirt and dust in my nose, and it was in a lot of ways a very humbling experience, you know. But it was a very beautiful experience, because day after day I would say this prayer. I would say, Lord, if unless you build the house, basically this labor I'm doing is in vain. It means nothing. If this isn't for you, then it's not worth anything, you know. And I actually remember even in the details of how the house was built, the Lord showed up in those details. I remember one day sitting right over here in this area on this couch to my right, and I was looking out over what was the total construction zone at the time. And in my prayer, I had this vision of one of the guys that was on our work crew coming over, and he pointed up to one of the other workers and he said, I want this wall torn down. This part right here, just take it down. And I felt like that's what the Lord wanted. He was in the details. He was in the actual details of the home. And sure enough, that day we're on the work crew, and it played out just like in my mind. The contractor, he walked over to one of the guys who was in that area, and he did that exact thing. He said, see this wall? See that part there? I want you to tear it down. And so that was a real moment for me to realize that God is in the details. He's in the building of the house. If, I wanted what the Lord wanted, not what I wanted. And so I continued to seek him out. I continued to seek his plan out. And it not only means in the construction of a physical home, a brick and mortar home, but it also means the temple of the Holy Spirit. You, as a person, you're a temple of the Holy Spirit, right? And Paul tells us that do you not know you're a temple of the Holy Spirit, right? And do we take time in paying attention to that temple, which houses the Holy Spirit, of the details? What is the Lord constructing in you? What is he doing in you? Is he growing a certain virtue right now? Is he giving you strength through trials? Is he giving you gifts of the Holy Spirit that you are nurturing and building up the church with? Are you using those gifts? He is doing something in you. The Lord, it's a beautiful image because Jesus, we know this, he worked with his hands. He worked with Joseph. He was a carpenter. He understood these things. And even to a greater extent, he's doing those things. He's building up you as a person. You are living stones, right? As Peter says, built into an edifice, right? And so take this to heart when you start to pray through this psalm about, if the Lord's doing it, then we don't have to worry, right? But if we're doing it on our own, then we might have to question ourselves. We can go in circles. We can wander through the desert for 40 years. All those kind of things. We could expend a lot of energy doing things that aren't necessarily from the Lord. And that's why I just want to really quickly touch on this last part. This part about rest. It is useless for you to rise early and to delay taking your rest at night. How many of us wake up early in the morning, we just slave ourselves to the bone, we don't get rest, and then over time we realize it was all me. I was just expending my own energy. I'm exhausted, and there's really nothing. I'm just spinning my wheels. Well, if it's from the Lord, then it'll bear fruit. And I've had many times when I've really had to rely on this, even while he sleeps, the Lord provides for those he loves. So a lot of times I had a million things on my checklist that I could have stayed up all night working until 2 a.m. if I wanted to, and there would have never been an end to that list. But there comes a time when we have to trust in the Lord and take our rest at night. Just put it down. Just say, no. It's whatever time it is, it's time for me to just rest and trust it to the Lord. He's got it. And this is what he does time and again. And I actually have a phrase that just kind of became a catchphrase. I didn't mean it, but it was a friend asked me how the ministry was doing, and I said, it's doing great. I can't believe it. I feel like literally all I do is take naps and pray the rosary. But the Lord is doing so much. And I was half joking, when I said that, but there was a lot of truth to that. That I did. I rested when I felt like I needed to rest, and I entrusted it to the Lord, and I turned to prayer, and that was where God can really show up. That's where He can show it. It's not us. It's not our hard work. It's not a do-it-yourself type of spirituality. So I hope this blessed you. Please donate to the ministry at uem.life. That's our website. We'd love for your support to continue these messages. And then also, I'd love for you to subscribe to help build this channel. God bless.